go ahead and get the meeting started. The first item on the agenda, is the approval of the agenda for today. We need a motion. Actually, before you do that, could we possibly combine B1 and 2 since they both apply to the same thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve combining B1 and B2.
Okay, it's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 14th, 2021. If there are no changes or corrections, we'll entertain a motion for their approval.
I'll move
So
to-
moved.
Second, Trost.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There aren't any. Good. Okay. Financial report, Mr. Anderson.
This is Anderson with staff. The financial report in the packet is through August 31st, 2021, which puts us at 2 months into the new fiscal year, or 16.6%. Starting on the revenue page, we're at, in different categories, we're at 22%, 46%, 7%, 19%. Overall, we're at 6% of the revenue totals. Kind of early in the year, there's a couple of pending property sales, which will probably put us ahead for where we're supposed to be at for the year. But right now, we're down 10% for the year. For the expenses on the other side, again, we're at 19%. We do have some expenses that are paid up front for insurance and things like that for staffing. Overall, we're at 19% for the totals there. So we're a little ways ahead of where we are for the fiscal year at this time, but we're pretty much on pace because of those things being paid early.
Okay.
I move to approve the financial report as submitted.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the financial report as submitted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. We now come to the time for oral presentations from anybody in the audience. This is on an item that is not on today's agenda. So if you have any comments, questions, or whatever to address something that's not on the agenda, you may come forward now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Dave Bolton on Zoom. I would like to request that this commission take a look at parking requirements in certain zoning areas. And one in particular that I'm concerned with is the C3 zoning, which is primarily downtown. Correct me if I'm wrong, Noel, but C3 doesn't require parking. And we have a lot of multi-unit residential housing that's going in downtown. Two examples would be the art block over by the Culture and Arts Center and the amphitheater, and then also the new one that's possibly going to be built, 6 and Commercial, or 6Com as it's called. An example of 6Com would be it's going to be multi-story, 70 residential studio apartments with parking, combined commercial and for their residential of 20 spaces. So that leaves us with 50 excess spaces that to parking somewhere else throughout the downtown. It's the same issue with art block, possibly 300 commercial. People want to live downtown. We want to see multi-unit residential downtown, but I think we need to look at the C3 zoning and take a hard look at parking. And I respectfully request that this commission would look at that at a future date and possibly act on it to create parking, especially in the residential aspect of the C3.
Okay, and Noel's shaking his head yes, so thank you. Anybody else?
And thank you for your
Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to new business.
Craig.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going to talk about? Yeah, you are on the agenda. Okay, we'll get to you in a minute. Moving on to new business, the first item is a special permit request by the Masonic Temple for a special permit to allow for fraternal organization and permit the construction of a 576 square foot detached garage in the C1 Commercial District located at 607 Bishop Avenue. Staff report.
This Dornoff with staff, the applicant is requesting a special permit to allow for a fraternal organization in a 2,940 square foot existing building and to allow for construction of a 576 square foot detached structure at 607 Bishop Street. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on surrounding areas. The building had previously been used as a religious facility. The proposed request would not appear to have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. The building is on the northwest corner of Bishop, which is classified as a collector, and Schultz Street, which is classified as a local street. The property in question is Zone C1 Commercial District. It's been zoned as such since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. Surrounding land uses and their zoning is follows: to the north, a vacant lot, residential and commercial businesses, Zone C1 Commercial District, and R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. To the south is Schultz Street Residential and a vacant lot, Zone C1 Commercial District and R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. To the east is Bishop Avenue and Residential Zone R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District and C1 Commercial District. And to the west is Residential Zone R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. The applicant is requesting a special permit for a fraternal organization to allow for construction of 576 square foot detached structure. Fraternal organizations are allowed in R3 and less restrictive districts with the issuance of a special permit. There has been a church on the site since 1950, and any use that needs a special permit that was in existence before the adoption of the zoning ordinance is considered as already having the special permit. However, a fraternal organization, such as the Masonic Temple, is considered differently from a religious organization. Therefore, a new special permit is needed. The Masonic Temple bought the former church building in 2014, but no special permit had been issued at this point. The applicants are also looking to build a detached 24 by 24, 576 square foot garage on the site. The garage will be located to the west of the existing building and shed. Fraternal organizations required to have one parking space for every 4 persons of maximum occupancy of the main hall. It appears that the building currently has 32 parking spaces, with 2 or 3 going to be lost with the new garage. It would appear that the parking requirements will be met. Therefore, staff would recommend that the approval of the request by the Masonic Temple for a special permit to allow for a fraternal organization and a permit the construction of a 576 square foot detached garage in the C1 Commercial District located at 607 Bishop Avenue be approved for the following reasons. The request is in the area zone C1 Commercial District. It would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. It would not appear to have a negative impact on pedestrian or vehicular traffic in the area, with the following conditions: that the final site plan meets all applicable city codes, regulations, including but not limited to buffers, parking, drainage, landscaping, except as approved by the Board of Adjustment.
Any questions for staff?
Were the residents in the homes notified of this?
Yeah, they receive a courtesy letter, anybody within 250 feet.
And there were no objections?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? All right, we'll move on to comments from, at first I should ask, is somebody representing the applicant here today? Okay. Next thing, we'd be ready for comments from anyone either for or against this issue. If you would, when you come to the microphone, please give us your name and address and try to keep your comments brief. Thank you. Okay, seeing no one, we'll entertain a motion or any discussion amongst.
I'll make a motion to approve the request by the Masonic Temple for a special permit to allow for a fraternal organization and permit the construction of a 576 square foot detached garage in the C1 Commercial District located at 607 Bishop Avenue with the following conditions, and that is that the final site plan meets all applicable city codes, regulations, including but not limited to buffers, parking, drainage, landscaping, etc., except as approved by the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, opposed, same sign. That has carried. Moving on to special permits number 2, request by Martin Foundry Service Incorporated for a special permit to allow for a recycling yard to be located in the M1 Light Industrial District across from 235 Glendale Street. Staff report?
This is Dornoff with staff. The applicant is requesting a special permit for a recycling yard. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on surrounding areas. The site is adjacent to a salvage yard and other industrial uses. However, the site is less than 600 feet from multiple protected uses. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on vehicular pedestrian traffic in the area, as the only vehicles coming to the location would be company vehicles. The site has been zoned M1 Industrial District since the adoption of the zoning ordinance in 1969. To the north is industrial residences, zone M1 Industrial District. To the south is the salvage yard, industrial, and the Cedar River, zone M1 Light Industrial District, and A1 Agricultural District. To the east is residences, zone R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. And to the west is industrial, zone M1 Light Industrial District. Recycling ordinance requires that all recycling yards be surrounded by 8-foot solid fence that is uniform in color or height. The applicant will be requesting a variance for the fencing requirement. The future land use map designates this area as industrial, and the request would be in compliance with this designation. The site is located within the primary growth area. The applicant is requesting a special permit to allow for a recycling yard located across from 235 Glendale Street. Staff became aware of the facility when the applicant requested an address be assigned to the property to get electrical service to the site for a trailer, or well, actually it's a storage pod to be used as an office on the site. The applicant submitted a variance request to allow for the pod for an office. However, the action was tabled by Board of Adjustment when it was determined that the proposed use meets the definition of a recycling yard and will need a special permit in addition to several requirements for a recycling yard. The company receives slag from the John Deere foundry and reclaims the metal, processes and resells the product, which can be used in applications such as concrete instead of being sent to a landfill. Staff did check with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, stated there are no environmental issues with the process. However, since the process is not done on John Deere property, the operation is considered a recycling yard and thus needs a special permit for the operation. Steel slag is defined as a byproduct of steel making and is produced during the separation of molten steel from impurities in steel making furnaces. It is estimated that between 7.7 and 8.3 million tons of steel slag are used each year in the United States. The primary application for steel slag in the United States is uses such as granular basis or as aggregate material in construction applications. Most of the furnace slag is recycled for use as aggregate. Excess steel slag from operations is usually sent to landfills for disposal. Any dust created by the operation is treated by water to minimize leaving the site. The applicant's letter in the packet notes that there is no environmental restrictions for the materials. Staff check, as noted, staff did check with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to ensure the operation meets their regulations. The request will need multiple variances for hard surfacing requirement, fencing requirements on a temporary building, and being within 600 feet of protected use. The property does have 3 residences immediately to the north. However, all 3 buildings are owned by the owner of the salvage yard located at 202 Glendale Street. But there is multiple homes located to the east of the property along Indiana Street, which is separated from the site by site of the recycling yard by vacated but still city-owned right-of-way of Colorado Street. It should be noted that the operation of this recycling facility is much less intense than standard recycling yard, and that the zoning ordinance was designed to cover. During tech review, Jamie Knudsen noted that they would need a drainage plan, which the applicant has talked to engineering about. Therefore, staff would recommend the request for a special permit for a recycling yard located across from 235 Glendale Street in the M1 Light Industrial District be approved for the following reasons. Recycling yard is located adjacent to an existing salvage yard. The recycling yard would not create any environmental problems. The operation is much less intense than typical recycling yard, and only employees would be traveling to the site with the following conditions: that the final site plan meets all applicable city codes, regulations, etc., including but not limited to parking, landscaping, screening, drainage, setbacks, etc. And they would, also the variances are approved by the Board of Adjustment, and also that they will not be permitted to use the vacated city right-of-way, which is actually separated from their site by trees.
Are there any questions for staff?
This is Flynn, and they're going to seek a variance for the fencing. So what are they planning for fencing at all? Because there's homes very
Well, the applicant is here, so he could answer that question when we're done.
okay.
Mrs. Stroh, so any variance would have to go through the Board of Adjustment, correct?
Correct. They would be the ones that approve that.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? Okay. Anybody that is here representing this company, or please come forward and give us your name, address, and
Yeah. My name's Marlon Martin. My address is 107 Sweetwater Lane, Rainbow City, Alabama. I'm the president of Martin Foundry Service. Our company is 74 years old. We've been in business since 1947. All that we've ever done is work at steel mills and foundries. We're currently at 13 sites around the country. We've got from Texas to Iowa to Indiana to Georgia. All what we will be doing there is processing the metal from the slag, selling the metal back to John Deere to remelt, or sell it to a steel mill down at Muscatine, Iowa. The slag is left over. In the past 50 years, John Deere has landfilled that because they had nothing else to do with it because the metal was still in it. So it didn't have a use for anything. We came along, obtained a contract to separate the metal from the slag. The slag is being used all over the country, and mainly cement, asphalt. Ours at this particular site, we're crushing it, and it's going into concrete and asphalt. I'm selling it to Kenny Quam, and Kenny is reselling it to the right kind of people. I'm using Kenny as a broker. My plan for a fence, I want to get an 8 or 10 foot solid metal wall fence around the roadside and the north and the south side of the property. On the west side, there's already that same type of fence from the salvage yard there. I have spoke with the city engineer here about a flood plan. I'm going to get that. I do not have one right now, but I will obtain that within probably 2 to 3 weeks and present it here. We have 2 employees there, and that's all that we will have. It will never grow unless John Deere grows. We've got all the equipment there now that's going to probably ever be there. I know there was some concern that we're going to grow and it's going to get, out of hand, but it's not. I want to do everything that I'm supposed to do. I'll obtain anything that's required of me, and I will do it in the right way. That's just the way that I'm used to doing things. And I know there's been a lot of concern in the area, and I want to be a good neighbor. we are not buying scrap from the public. It's not that type of place. The only material that we will receive is the material from John Deere. Any
questions for Mr. Martin?
Have you met with the neighbors at all regarding this, or?
My employee has, my supervisor has, I have not. Well, yes, I spoke to one, the Rick at the salvage yard. I spoke with Rick today, and there's not any, I don't see a problem there at all.
Can you briefly just explain the process of how you separate the metal from the slag?
All right. We bring it in with a dump truck. We empty it out. I've got a Lee Bear scrap handler. It's an excavator with a flat magnet. We mag the large stuff out of it that we have to break with a ball. The rest of it we mag into a separator plant that we've got spray bars on each conveyor. It's got 3 conveyors. I've got spray bars on each conveyor and on the top of the hopper to stop the dust. And it does a really good job. It's a fine type of a mist. This material's not that dusty anyway, but if there is some, the spray bars will take care of it. There's a magnet on the conveyor belts that extracts all the metal from 1/8 inch and up. We size the metal. I've got a 3-deck screen. We size the metal in 3 different sizes for resale. Then at the point that the slag is off of the separator, it is free of metal. We've got a concrete enclosed area there. We stick the slag there. Kenny will come twice a week and pick that material up.
Thank you.
There's about 25 truckloads a month of it. That's triaxles.
How about noise?
That separator, we receive slag on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We run that separator about an hour and 15 minutes, 3 days a week. That's all it runs. It's not loud. You can barely, the engine sounds like a car engine.
Okay.
The loudest thing we have there would be a front end loader. It's a John Deere 544 loader, just an average size front end loader. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
This is Flynn. What are your plans in the winter? It's a large lot, it looks like. I mean, as far as, would you clear the whole thing, and do you have thoughts on where you'd put the snow?
No, ma'am, I haven't got that far yet, to be quite honest. We are only using probably 1/5 of that land. Like when you drive onto it, there's an acre that there's nothing on. Then right behind us, there's another acre that there's nothing on. But as far as what I would do with the snow, I would keep it cleared, and I guess we would put it up front off on the side, you know. I am gonna be putting a building to put 1 or 2 pieces of the equipment in for the winter, but it's not gonna be that large. You're looking at maybe 120 by 50, something like that, maybe 12 foot tall or 14 foot tall. But it's only for storage for the equipment to, get it out of the snow if we got to work on it or something.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any others? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody here in the room that would like to speak either for or against this item? If so, please come forward and give us your name and address. And again, keep your comments as brief as possible. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Dina Messerschmidt. My husband and I live at 353 Indiana Street. I laugh at the fact that the first statement that I heard out of the commission was that this has no negative effect to the area that is being talked about. I am here to talk about denying Martin Foundry Services the permit to have a recycling yard in the M1 Light Industrial District, 235 Glendale Street. My husband and I purchased our home about 3.5 years ago in a quiet neighborhood on a dead-end street. We live on a double lot with a 6-foot privacy fence around our backyard. Behind our backyard is an empty grassy lot, which is shown in the pictures, which is owned by someone I don't know, and I know there's a small right-of-way that the city owns, which they don't take care of. The neighbors do. We mow it because the city doesn't have anything to do with it. Now, since Martin Foundry Services has moved on to Glendale Street, I look in my backyard and I can see and hear a crane, heavy equipment operating, and a dust cloud surrounding the area. The paragraph describing what Martin Foundry is doing at Glendale Street made it sound like it was a great, friendly, green operation with no environmental restrictions. In reality, it is a loud, dirty, and intruding business, which is recycling slag from the John Deere Foundry. Anybody that is familiar with that product knows that it is dirty, nasty, and should not be allowed into a quiet residential neighborhood. My husband and I and all of our neighbors went into our neighborhoods gathering signatures to deny Martin Foundry Services the permit they need to recycle in our backyards. We have gathered 259 signatures from young and old alike in our neighborhood that don't want this business in our backyards. I personally listened to my neighbors on Indiana Street talk about having asthma, COPD, and now can't go outside and open their windows and enjoy the fresh air when Martin is operating their equipment. There is a retired gentleman that has a garden in his backyard that is now covered in filth from Martin Services. We have a nurse that works third shift that has trouble sleeping during the day with the equipment noise and the backup beeps from the heavy equipment. There is a young dad on Glendale Street that has a daughter with cystic fibrosis that can't be outside when the machines are operating because of the soot that's in the air. I had 2 young boys, when I was going around getting signatures, ask me if they could sign the petition because now they have large trucks going down the street that they normally ride their bikes. And their moms don't want them out there anymore because it's too dangerous. I have a gentleman that lives on Amy Street that has so much equipment noise he can't hear his TV. I have a young mother on Indiana Street that wants to play with her two-year-old outside but doesn't want him affected by the dirt and noise. I don't know about you guys, but it sounds like a lot of negative effects in the neighborhood. This business is not wanted in our neighborhood. I haven't even talked about the fine metal particles that go into the air and land on our vehicles and cause rust spots and pit our clear coats. Or the fact that having a recycling yard in our properties lowers the value of all of our homes. I understand the need to recycle this product, but I ask you to consider if you would want this in your backyard. If so, let them move into your neighborhood, not ours.
You said you had a petition?
Yes, I
You
do. I have all
that
the
with you?
signatures. I have
Okay,
all the signatures from,
okay. Grab that, please, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Sure.
First of all, I didn't know there were that many people in that area. There's probably, if you're on Indiana Street, there's a big trucking company there, isn't there? That's the street?
no.
You're 1 block off.
Okay, so 1 block from us, there's a trucking company over there that trucks run in and out of there all day. You know how many trucks that run into my place every day?
I'm talking about the area that is right behind your facility.
Mr. Martin, could you please
Yeah, okay.
face this way so the
Okay,
microphone
well-
can pick you up?
We only get about 3 trucks a day. The equipment runs a total of about an hour every day, and that's it. And the rest of the time, we're doing other things. I don't know how any soot could have gotten anybody's backyard. I understand.
We had spent a really dry summer, and.
Ma'am, please wait.
But I dispute just about everything that she said. I would welcome any of y'all out there and just watch us any day that you would like to come and watch and see for yourself.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Please come to the podium.
My name's Jim Makedonsky. I live at 214 Amy Street. I wrote down a few things I have issues with. The road issues were not designed for them kind of trucks to be going down all the time. When the road gets bad, us taxpayers will wind up having to pay to have it replaced. Noise, the noise of the machines wouldn't be so terrible, but the backup beepers on everything over there is, them things just jump you right out of bed. Metal banging in the trucks from their dropping their magnet, dropping it in the truck. Air quality, houses on the Indiana Street getting covered in dirt and grime. Groundwater contamination. They say they don't need water, but they are using water, and they're not paying the city for the rainwater drainage because they're pulling their water off my neighbor's house, off his outside faucet.
And we're paying his water, we are paying the water bill there until we get our own.
Vibration from their drop ball. I thought where they had two pieces of my concrete sink. I've been there for 10, 15 years and never had an issue before. And looking online, they're not BBB certified or accredited in Kansas City, Missouri, which is supposed to be their home plant.
That's a different Martin Foundry service, sir. That's a foundry in Kansas City.
Okay, would you please come to the
Yeah.
podium? And,
Kansas City, Missouri, there is a Martin Foundry service. They make sprocket and gears. They're not affiliated with us.
okay. Anyone else that would like to come forward?
Hi, my name is Krista Decker. I live at 303 Glendale Street. I have not done as much studying about this as other people have, which is great for my knowledge and information. But I do know that I have a fiance who lived at a steel mill or worked at a steel mill for 18 years. And I can tell you what he looked like when he came home. And I can tell you the people who have died from cancer and other illnesses because of the dust and the other atrocious things that would go into their lungs. And as a homeowner at 303 Glendale, I don't want them in my backyard. I mean, would you guys like them in your backyard? I mean, my property taxes are going to go down to zero. I can't sell my house. I mean, it's not worth a daggum dime because they want to come in and ruin my neighborhood. Like I said, I don't have much to say. I'm just very angry that they would try to take a residential, nice, quiet residential and turn it into traffic in and out 24 hours. Our streets aren't big or meant to have semis rolling down the roads. I mean, it's only one lane thingy. There's kids playing in the streets. I don't want to see kids getting sick from their dust. I don't want to see kids getting hit by one of their semis. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come forward and speak?
Hello, I'm Jerry Makedonsky. I own the property at 300 Glendale. I did get the opportunity to talk with his supervisor, and I posed a number of questions to him. One of the questions was the smell category. And the reason for that question was because you all obviously know the rendering works is down there, and probably 20 or 30 days of the year, the smell is really atrocious that floats over those neighborhoods. So it's really tough. The supervisor that I talked to did state that there is some smell that comes off that slag, and they will do what they can to minimize it, but they can only do so much. Now, the gentleman here from Martin's has been in business since 1947, and I commend him for that. And he also said that he likes to do things the right way. But my understanding is the reason for this adjustment meeting here is that they didn't do things the right way. They came into town, they set up operations and started operating. And when they tried to get an address to get utilities brought to their lot, and we're just talking about electricity, they have no plans for water, sewer, according to that supervisor. That's when they got their ears pinned back and said, no, they have to come in for an adjustment. So as far as liking to do things the right way, it did not sound like that to me. The trucks going up and down the street there on Glendale is a safety hazard to children on the street. He mentioned already once that he said he'd have 25 truck lines, truck runs in a given month's time, and then a minute ago he said they will have 3 a day. Well, is it 90 a month or is it 25 a month? I didn't quite understand that math, but to have that kind of traffic on that street, I think was horrible. I talked to his supervisor about perhaps taking a 1-block jut to the left and going down the street where the trucking firm was. And he said, oh no, we could not do that. Our trucks can't make that corner. So he's talking about large enough trucks that can't turn on city streets. Why would you allow them on city streets? Now, secondly, or not secondly, I'm probably up to about my 4th point now. The city council is here for the best of the city, I believe. You're here to look out for the interests of our city. And I know bringing business into the city is a good thing, but I would want to stop and examine where the revenue stream that the city is going to perceive from this would come from, because they lease the ground. They have no proposed idea of putting in a permanent foundation-style building to collect property taxes off of. They're an outer-town company with their employees that I believe are also residents from out of town. Where does the economic benefit come to the city of Waterloo in all of these situations, as well as what all the residents have already said around there? You know, that you guys have to make that decision. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Is there any, just a minute, let's get everybody else a chance first. Is there anyone else that would like to speak either for or against? Please come to the podium, give us your name and address.
Hello. I'm Jeffrey Davis. I live on 303 Glendale. And there's a lot of traffic already going up and down that street. And my neighbor has a little girl. He's a little concerned, I think. Well, I'm speaking for myself. I worked in a steel mill for 18 years and breathed that comes, the soot, I guess you could call it. And it's very hazardous. I could name probably 3 supervisors that worked there. When they retired, they're all dead. Basically respiratory, I think cancer for one. To be honest with you, it's so crowded already that I'm kind of worried about the kids. And basically the airborne particles that they would be breathing. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Anyone else that would like to come forward? Okay, Mr. Martin, you have a rebuttal?
Yes, sir. I said that we get 3 trucks a day, and before when I was up here, I said we only process 3 days a week. So that's 9 trucks. So that would equal out to 36. So from 25 to 36. We don't get trucks every day. We only get trucks 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay. Commissioners, discussion.
How long have you guys been operating at this address?
We're probably 60 days, I think. Maybe 50, something.
And
Sure, come forward to the podium, please.
I'm a little confused. I know that I haven't always lived in Waterloo. I lived in a rural community before I came to Waterloo 5 years ago. And I know my family had said to me when I moved into Waterloo, why are you doing that? It's a dirty town and nobody cares about what they do in the neighborhoods. And I thought, you know what, I don't think that's true. And I'm hoping that's not true. Today is my first time to ever come to one of these meetings. And I know that my husband and I, we wanted to build a house or build a garage on our property. And I called the zoning committee and they told me that I couldn't because I already had a house and a garage on my property, so I didn't do it. But yet we've allowed this place to operate without a permit for 90 days?
Probably 60.
If I had done that at my own house, you would have came to my door and told me to stop. And stopped me dead in my tracks. I hope you make this right for this community. All of my neighbors are worried, wondering what they're going to do, if they're going to have to sell their houses, what they're going to do about their health issues, and are we ever going to even be able to sell our houses because of this?
Okay, thank you. Discussion.
I was wondering, were you not, obviously you have 18, I think you said, other locations across the nation.
13, yes.
13. Were you not aware that there is a process to start a business like this?
No, I have never received anything like this anywhere that I'm at. Ever.
So you can
Ever.
just go to land and start a
Yeah.
business in the middle of homes?
Well, I'm trying to think. We just started one in Indiana, and there's homes across the street. They're making this out to be a lot more than it is. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It all sounds good, but I don't know. It is what it is. I'll respect whatever, I don't want to, I'm not here to cause problems for anybody. That's not what I do.
I don't believe that.
You don't?
No, that I
Good.
think you need to take your stuff and leave.
Do you?
Could you
Yes.
please talk into the microphone and
Well,
be respectful? Audience members and everybody.
yeah, right. I've never ran into this. This is all foreign to me. Of course, I've never worked up in this part of the country either. It's a little different down south. A lot different. A lot different. A lot different.
Okay.
I have a question for engineering. You said you had spoken with the DNR and walked through the process, I'm assuming, with the DNR, and their response was, again, can you repeat what their response was with the DNR?
Oh, sure. I just didn't know if you wanted to get up and talk about it too. Yeah, we did talk to the DNR officials, basically to find out if there's anything from an environmental standpoint that we were not aware of in terms of requirements for hard surfacing or things like that. Essentially, they said as long as the material is moving on a constant basis and all that, there is no concern to it being a groundwater. Obviously, it was sat there for a year, not moving, then they'd have some concerns potentially. But otherwise, they didn't see any concerns with the materials that they've dealt with before.
So this property is already zoned M1, and from what I'm looking at in the ordinance, anything related to recycling, junk, or salvage yards requires a special permit. Hence, that's why that's here. But there are a number of, just for everybody's knowledge, there are a number of other industries that could go in without this process, without this special permit. Just want to make you aware of that because it is zoned an M1 lot. And you can look through and see what those are, but the purpose of this is to make sure that we're reviewing it because it's being classified as recycling. and it does require a special permit, and that's why we're here for this process right now. I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you.
We did look, and it was zoned for industrial. So being that it was zoned industrial, I didn't see a problem. If there's a permit, I don't have a problem. I'll do what I have to do. But with it being, you've got a rendering plant that I could walk to, you've got a salvage yard, you've got, everybody's making out like I'm the first guy to enter a neighborhood. And there's everything over there. There's 8 or 9 things that's doing a lot more than I'm doing. I'm just the new guy, and that's the reason everybody's starting to pile up. And I'm from out of town. So.
What was on this site before?
This is Anderson. It was part of the Markwort site.
Okay,
They had multiple blocks of land out there.
all right.
May I speak again?
Please keep it quick. We've got other things we have to get on to.
Martin Foundry Service is correct. We also do have a rendering area back over by our street, which we have to put up with. The business was already there. We also have a junkyard that's been there for 50 years that we have to put up with. That's back there. His operation, however, is right behind our houses. All the other places are back in an area where there is industrial stuff. He has moved, I know it is zoned for light industrial, but he has moved right behind our houses. And I understand that other businesses could move into that too, but I would also consider that the city would make sure that there was a respectable business that went in behind our residents. They wouldn't just allow anybody to be back there. Again, I ask you to think about, would you want this in your backyard? I know I don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Trost. I have one more question for engineering. Approximate size of the property, when I'm seeing in the ordinance, it delineates that any new yard shall have 5 acres. Does this meet that requirement?
It does not, so that was actually on the list of things they would have to apply for a variance for.
Okay.
And that would be from Board of Adjustment.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to clarify that if some of you thought, we are the Planning and Zoning Commission, so what we're doing, we're not the city council, so we don't have the final say on this. That goes to the Board of Adjustments and then to the city council. So we are just looking at the zoning aspect of it and the special Board of Adjustment, a special permit that he is applying for. So that's the scope of our duties here today.
Yeah, we're only a recommending body. Okay, is there any other?
And just a note, it would go to the Board of Adjustment. Nothing actually would go to the city council for this action.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have discussion, or do we have a motion? We got to do something, guys.
Has staff seen a plan for the fencing and all of that? Have you seen a plan for that, or the storm water drainage, any plans?
They just talked. Just starting off with staff, they just talked with engineering today. They came up during tech review. And then as far as the fence, not yet. So I gave them a list of what would be required for a normal recycling, full service recycling yard, and which some of them he'd need a variance for, so.
I have one more question for engineering. So I'm looking at in the ordinance where it talks about M1, light industrial, what's allowed. And there are a number of industries that are allowed that can create dust and smells and those kinds of things outlined in the ordinance that don't require a special permit. This particular industry that this gentleman's seeking to put here was classified as recycle. and would like to understand why it was classified as recycle.
We actually had a lot of discussion with that as staff, between us and the engineering department. I mean, it's very borderline. I mean, when we wrote the ordinance, it was more dealing with recycling yards. You know, they're more intent bringing stuff in from the public. But because it does recycle metal, it fell under the recycling.
Yeah, basically, as John noted, you know, and Commissioner Trost, you're exactly right. If this was still the Marquardt site and they're out there doing block work and all that, it could create dust and things of that nature. And technically, if you look at it, they're breaking bigger rocks into smaller rocks. Is that recycling and reuse? Right. The key here was the fact that it is steel, so steel slag. All the metal recycling yards were under the special permit process as you get into the definitions and descriptions in the zoning ordinance.
Any other questions?
Well, I personally, I feel with the neighborhood being in such opposition to this, I would rather have a concrete plan in front of me to approve the zoning, you know, I would rather see what they're actually going to do and what the plan is with the stormwater drainage, the fencing, before I would approve it.
Are you saying you want to table it, or?
Well, I guess I was giving my opinion, but I
Sure.
could make a motion that, to deny it until we would have more concrete evidence of what the plan was for the area.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to deny the request until more concrete information has been provided. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 You want a roll call?
Yeah, it probably should be a roll call on this.
Okay. Go ahead.
Flynn? So the motion is to deny.
Yes.
Trost?
Aye.
Surfling?
Deny. No. I wanted to go, be tabled for more information. I'm sorry.
Schoberg?
Aye.
Listigo?
Aye.
Holdeman?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, that motion has carried unanimously. Thank you so much. We'll move on now to the,
Well, and real quick, everyone, so this is a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment meets on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Additional notice will go out. Yes, okay, to let you know that
Do we
date.
have a copy of this? The petition? Do we
We
have a
can get you a
copy?
copy.
Well, I'm just saying, does she want this back? Yes. Yeah.
Okay, who's at the next staff report?
Yeah, I can give you it.
Okay. John will make a copy.
And this is.
okay. Moving on to plats, we've decided to combine plats number 1 and number 2 request for the preliminary and final plat of Borwig Edition. Do we have a staff report on that?
Yeah, this is Heiberger with staff. This is a request by the City of Waterloo for the final plat of the Borwig Edition, a 6-lot residential subdivision located at 203 Fairfield Street. City of Waterloo is the applicant. The applicant is requesting to subdivide for the development of 6 residential lots just south of 203 Fairfield Lane. The request for final plat would not appear to have a negative impact upon the surrounding area. It would appear that the proposed residential uses would blend well. The surrounding neighborhood, which consists of single-family homes. The proposed final plat, preliminary plat, would not appear to have a negative impact upon surrounding traffic conditions in the area. Proposed development would be served by Cedar Bend Street, Virginia Street, and Fairfield Street, which are all classified as local streets. There are not sidewalks in the immediate vicinity, but sidewalks are being shown on the proposed lots. The Cedar Valley Lakes Trail runs along the south side of Cedar Bend Street. The area in question is zoned R2, 1 to 2 family residence district, which has been zoned as such since 1969. Surrounding land uses to the north is a single-family home zoned R2. To the south, single-family homes and school ground zoned R2, 1 to 2 family district, and A1 agricultural district. To the east, single-family zone R2, 1 to 2 family. To the west is single-family homes and Cedar Park ground zoned R2, 1 to 2 family residence district, and A1 agricultural district. The surrounding area consists predominantly of single-family homes with development occurring from the 1910s to the 1950s. The final preliminary plat request will not appear to have an impact on drainage in the area. The final plat does denote a 1,400 square feet drainage easement and stormwater management area along the southern boundary of the proposed development. There is a stormwater management area along the north side of Lot 6. There are also 10-foot utility and drainage easements along the northern, western, and southern boundaries of the development. There's also a 5-inch drainage and utility easements along each lot property line. No portion of the property is located within a floodplain as indicated by FEMA. There's also 8-inch sanitary sewer main, 6-inch water main, and 18-inch storm sewer underneath Fairfield Street, and each can be extended for the development. The final plat and preliminary plat is consistent with the future land use map, which designates the area as low-density residential. The project also supports land use goal number 4, in which communities should work to offer a variety of housing opportunities to residents, and is a good infill housing project. The applicant's request to develop 6 lots along a proposed cul-de-sac south of Fairfield Street, currently dead ends. The size of lots range in size from 11,192 square feet to 19,600 square feet, with an average lot size of 15,500 square feet. Each property also shows a 10-foot utility easement in the front yard. The final plat contains a legal description, property and building line, dimensions, date, adjoining subdivisions, easements, right-of-way widths, and proper land sequence, number sequence. The final plat still requires the deed of dedication, engineer's certificate of survey, and contract and waiver bonds. Those will all be required before it goes on to City Council. Submittal of final plat appears to meet guidelines as set forth by the subdivision ordinance. Deed of dedication has not yet been submitted, but is currently in the process of being developed. Therefore, staff recommends that the final plat for the Borwig addition be approved for the following reasons. Number 1, the plat should have a positive impact on the surrounding area. Number 2, the plat should not have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. And 3, the plat will create additional infill development lots. And with the following condition, that the deed of dedication is submitted prior to the final plat being sent to the City Council, and that is a staff report.
Could you address why the city is making this, or going for this instead of a private individual?
That is a good question. I think Noel could probably better address that question than I.
This is Anderson with staff. So the eastern half of this area being platted was actually acquired by the city of Waterloo through a 657A of 1332 Walker Street, which is further to the south. Because we had this large parcel of land that was taken through the nuisance action, we've entered into a development agreement with someone to fix up the house to the south, but we separated off this northern portion basically to see if we could make some improvements to this neighborhood, add on a cul-de-sac. So then the city moved to acquire the western half of the area being developed. We were successful in that, and we have entered into a development agreement with Mr. Todd Borwig to basically develop what's shown as lots 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. He will be responsible for the road infrastructure, water, sewer, all that to make it into a subdivision. The city undertook the idea of platting it out for a proper subdivision. Lot 1 will actually be sold to the abutting neighbor to the north, shown as Lot 11, for him to build a garage to go with his residence. And when there's a separate development agreement for that. So the city's kind of taking a little bit more action for some infill development in these neighborhoods, and this was why we went ahead and did the plating ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Okay, discussion amongst commissioners. Actually, first I should ask if there's anybody in the audience that wants to speak for the city? Anybody else want to speak for or against this issue? Okay, discussion. Or motion.
This is Schoberg. I would make a motion that we recommend the preliminary and final plat for the Borwick addition for the following reasons. The plat should have a positive impact on the surrounding area. The plat should not have a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. The plat will create additional infill development lots with the following conditions: that the deed of dedication is submitted prior to the final plat being sent to City Council.
I will second that.
Okay,
I'll
it's
second it.
been moved and seconded. All in favor? If there's no further discussion.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to sidewalk vacate. It's a request by Alberta Young to vacate the sidewalk in the R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District located at 914 Sumner Street. Staff report.
Just starting off with staff, the applicant is requesting to vacate 50 linear feet of public sidewalk so the owner no longer has to maintain the sidewalk in front of 914 Sumner Street. There are no sidewalks other than in front of the applicant's property on this block of Sumner Street. The property in question is on the south side of the street with no sidewalks present until past Beach Street. There is no sidewalk within this block, and it is not anticipated this area would be prioritized for any future sidewalk infill project. However, the sidewalk in question is only 132 feet from existing sidewalk on Beach Street. The site is zoned R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. Has been zoned as such since 1969. To the north is north, south, east is all R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. To the west is residential and Dr. Walter Cunningham School of Excellence, and zoned R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. The applicant is requesting to vacate a portion of public sidewalk that sits in front of their property. The applicant is planning to, actually has reconstructed a private walkway to the home, and the sidewalk will require extensive repairs. However, the sidewalk is an island with no other sidewalks in the rest of the block, and there are currently no plans to add sidewalks to the block. Therefore, staff will recommend that the request by Alberta Young to vacate 50 linear feet of sidewalk at 914 Sumner Street, located in the R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District, be approved for the following reasons. The request to vacate would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding area. The request to vacate would not appear to have a negative impact on vehicular or pedestrian traffic conditions in the area, and public sidewalks not needed for pedestrian purposes.
Any questions for staff?
This is fun. It's saying the owner will no longer have to maintain the sidewalk. So what happens to the sidewalk?
They will remove it and replant the grass, and that she'll be responsible for the cost of that.
The homeowner will.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
Any others? Okay, is the applicant here or someone representing the applicant? Okay, if anybody wants to speak either for or against this item, seeing no one, will entertain more discussion amongst commissioners or a motion.
If we approve this vacate and something changes and sidewalks do become attached 132 feet away from this area, what right does the city have at that point to go back and require a sidewalk at this address?
This is Anderson with staff. So essentially, the city would have to adopt a sidewalk infill program that would enable us and authorize us to go back and put a sidewalk back in the future.
Okay.
I will make the motion that we approve the request by Alberta Young to vacate 50 linear feet of sidewalk at 914 Sumner Street, located in the R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District, For the following reasons, the request to vacate would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. The request to vacate would not appear to have a negative impact on vehicular or pedestrian traffic in the area. And the public sidewalk is not needed for pedestrian purposes. There was some grammar in there.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor, please say aye. Oh, sorry. Wait.
Sorry, I was just wondering, do
discussion.
we give them a time to remove that sidewalk? Because I just don't want it to like crack and become a hazard. And I mean, is there a time frame that we?
We can definitely add one if you'd like. I mean, otherwise the engineering department would essentially be in charge of making sure that it's taken out as part of the sidewalk program as part of the vacate.
Okay.
Is the owner actually planning to remove the sidewalk, or they just don't want to maintain it as far as moving snow, and if they have panels that crack, they have to replace them or take care of it?
I don't know.
I got
Doesn't,
out of it on page 72. The applicant is planning to reconstruct the private walkway to the home.
Yeah, which they actually already did, and it cut actually through the sidewalk area.
So I'm just worried that that sidewalk's going to stay there.
No, they're
because-
going to be responsible. The city will actually, engineering department will be responsible to actually have their contractor come out and remove it and replant the grass,
Okay.
or plant grass there.
So the city engineering will oversee the project.
Correct.
Of the occupant, the homeowner, to remove it.
Yes.
Okay. There's a plan. Thank you. Okay,
Any other
I'm good.
questions or discussion?
Was that seconded?
Yes.
It was seconded, yeah.
Sorry.
By whom?
Cody.
Thank you.
Oh,
All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next item, the appeal, a request by Matthew Frost to appeal the driveway policy prohibiting a second driveway approach on a corner lot in the R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District located at 1200 Byron Avenue. Staff report.
Okay, yeah, it's Matthew Frost is the applicant. The applicant is requesting to have a second driveway on the corner lot. Driveway policy limits having a driveway to one street. It would appear to have a negative impact on the area and could set a precedent for future requests. Requests would appear to have a negative impact on pedestrian or traffic conditions in the area, as the site is considered a local street. There's a sidewalk along Byron Avenue, and there is no sidewalk along Hoover Street. There are no trails either in the immediate vicinity. The lot in question is zoned R2 1 and 2 Family District and has been zoned as such since 1969 to the north, south, and east. Everything's residential, zoned R2 1 and 2 Family Residence District. The area contains residential homes built between 1910s and 1960s. No additional screening would be required. No drainage will be required. Property in question is not located in a special flood hazard area according to FEMA. There is an 8-inch sanitary sewer main to the south of 1200 Byron Avenue. In the alley, in addition, there's 8-inch sanitary sewer main, 6-inch water main, and 30-inch stormwater underneath Byron Avenue. There are no known utilities near the proposed second driveway access off of Hoover Street. Future land use map designates this area as low-density residential. The applicant is requesting an appeal to the city code requirement restricting corner lots to one driveway access point on the street with the least traffic. The reasoning behind the provision of the engineering code is that it presents a safety issue for oncoming traffic, especially when there is an alley only 17 feet south of the second driveway off of Hoover Road. The applicant did not pull a permit from engineering in regards to placement of the concrete in the city right-of-way, and the city engineering department would have not approved the permit. City engineering department has submitted a letter stating opposition to the request due to it being corner lot and the fact it would set a precedent that would lead to other requests. In addition to the driveway portion in the city right-of-way does meet the addition in the city does not meet the engineering thickness design requirements and will have to be removed regardless of whether the second driveway is approved or not. If the appeal is approved, a new driveway will need to be installed in the city right-of-way that meets the city's engineering requirements. No plattings involved with this request. The request by Matthew Foss for an appeal of the driveway policy prohibiting a second driveway on a corner lot at 1200 Byron Avenue in the R2 1-2 family residence district be denied for the following reasons. The engineering department is opposed to the request as it does not meet the requirements of the policy. A driveway permit for the new driveway was not issued. The request could set a precedent allowing the second driveway on a corner lot for future requests.
Are there any questions for staff? I have one. Seth, you said, and it reads here too, that the request, pardon me, corner lots are restricted to only one driveway access point on the street with the least traffic?
That is correct.
It would seem to me that Hoover is the street with the least traffic in this neighborhood.
Oh, I mean,
But, you know.
Sure.
So, well, no, I guess what I'm asking is, how come he has a driveway off of Byron?
That was the original.
I think, yeah, that.
Well, it was the original, I know, but I guess I just wanted some clarification on that one. Thank you.
And I don't know,
sure,
I remember when the house was built, I mean, maybe that wasn't the rules back then either.
Well, probably not, because I would imagine the house was built in the early 50s. But, okay.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Is the applicant here? Would you like to come forward and speak into the microphone, give us your name, address, and whatever comments you would like to make?
My name is Matthew Frost. I live at 1200 Byron Avenue, and everything that he said was correct, and I realized that the proper permits were not pulled. That was on the concrete company, and I'd be more than glad to pay the penalty fee for that and have it re-poured. The issue with me, I think I wake up at 5 or 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm backing out of my driveway, which is really narrow and long, and it makes for a lot easier access, more parking that stays off the road if I have visitors, you know. And it's a lot more dangerous backing out of my driveway onto a busier street that always has cars parked on it, and frankly, there's a lot of people that speed on that road. And I also would like to address, I don't know if this is probably a completely different issue, but it's an uncontrolled intersection there too, at Byron and Hoover.
Right.
And
that would be something that the city council would have to take up.
Yeah.
And actually, we can make note of that to the traffic operations to have them look at that too.
Okay.
I would like that to be a controlled intersection.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, I guess I don't know. And I think that's all I got. I'm not a very good public speaker, obviously.
You did fine.
Apologize.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Frost? Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak either for or against this item?
Hello, my name is Leah Stummy. I live at 1012 Lois Lane, but previously I lived at 1155 Byron Avenue from 2001 until 2018. When you guys were scrolling through, you actually had one of these shots that is from the assessor's office. In that photo, you'll see that driveway was there long before he did this. It has been there actually since the two owners before him were there. It was dirt. It was then covered in gravel. And then when he contacted his contractor to do the cement, and yes, that step was completely missed. He put his trust in a contractor that did not follow through with what he had told him he was doing. He simply then at that point resurfaced at that point. It is an uncontrolled intersection, and I've been to city council many times when I lived there for 18 years asking for that intersection to be controlled, and we never got anywhere with it. That has been why at his house, even the neighbors, everybody uses it because our neighborhood is close. We get together for barbecues, things like that. The house next to it, everybody gets together. We use that parking to be off street and also to be a little bit safer with the kids in the neighborhood. the biggest thing for him was he went with what it had been there for 18, 20 years. And now, understandably, yes, it is against what the code is, but it is what had been there previous to this point. Had it been brought up when it was resurfaced, had it been brought up when it was dirt, any of those things would be one thing. But now it's actually a much safer exit for him to get in and out. It is safer as far as levelness. Yes, it will need to be increased as far as the depth, but the contractor has already said they would come back through and take care of that to make sure things were up to code to correct it. And I just came in support of him because, like he says, he hates to speak in public, but there are also quite a few things that, I mean, it's been documented the whole time that that driveway has been there. It's not a new driveway in any ways. So I just wanted to point that out for you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak either for or against this item?
I got a question. Is Hoover Street, does that have curb and gutter?
No.
I thought so. Thank you.
And I guess I would attest to that. I grew up on Byron, and that was gravel for a long time. I mean, even when the fire station was there, farther up, way back, that was gravel. So it was existing there. I don't know. You know, I remember as a kid that they had a fence, a chain link fence on two posts that they'd take off. And so I think it has been there a long time. Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances over a period of time that have happened that driveway was there, and then unbeknownst to many that, you know, not knowing what the ordinance might have said or may have changed over the years, and ended up putting some time and effort and money into replacing the driveway. You know, it's unfortunate, but the ordinances are what the ordinances are. I'm not trying to make any excuses, but yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, and I guess I would disagree with the staff report that it creates a negative effect. I think it helps the neighborhood because Byron is limited parking on one side of the street, and it's a narrow street. So I think this would alleviate that. So I don't see how that would make it more negative. I understand the ordinance and I understand the protocol behind it, but I do not believe that that makes it worse for the neighborhood.
Okay. Certainly.
So I understand, yes, the ordinance is there, but as stated before, the ordinance was also that the street that you back out of is to be the non-busier street. So if the precedence is that the ordinance of that supersedes it, and that can be passed over, then why would this not also kind of fall into it? Because it has been there, like you said, for many, many years.
Okay.
I guess so. With him understanding that obviously the thickness issue needs to get resolved regardless of what we say, I will make a motion to approve the request to allow the driveway to be there. Let's see.
I'll second it.
Let me read it formally. So I motion we approve the request by Matthew Frost for an appeal of the driveway policy prohibiting a second driveway on a corner lot at 1200 Byron Avenue in the R2 1 and 2 family residence district. We don't need the reasons really because they're not the ones that those are to deny, so we'll just skip them.
And then you just want with the condition to go back and meet the thickness requirements.
Yeah. Yes.
And I guess if he had any penalty or fines for not doing it the first time, you know, for permitting, and that should be covered by the resident.
Yeah, that would be up to him or his contractor. Okay, so we had a second before Brandon, I'm sorry.
I second it.
Yeah. Before Cody finished his motion, are you still agreeing with that as far as the
Yes,
second?
thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion,
My only discussion point, I feel like we maybe weren't going to approve it because we don't want to set that precedent. I agree that in this case, I feel like it makes it's safer for the area. Just be cognizant of the fact that this is going to may have to be addressed again. And deemed otherwise. So
I guess in
I agree with the motion.
Yeah.
But
In discussion with this item in particular, that's why I asked about if the Hoover Street had a curb and gutter. So basically, it was us as a city that led to this, because if there would have been a curb and gutter on Hoover Street, someone would have put a random driveway back there however many years ago it was. So, I mean, it's just a weird deal. So I guess we'll just let the democracy of the commission prevail.
Well, and I do understand exactly what you said, Brendan, as far as there could be other requests, but I think that since we actually are, I actually think it's safer if he would use Hoover than Byron. So I think the safety.
Would the commission entertain the idea of eliminating the other driveway coming off of Byron and approving this? And having only the driveway off of Hoover?
Well, the way looks like it's set up, that'd be pretty hard for him to get in and out of his car.
It's got a curb cut.
Just asking the question, yeah. Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion? Are there any discussion items?
No, not by staff.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then I guess we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.